Welcome to episode 446 of the DFO Rundown. As always, brought to you by Bet365. It's never ordinary. At Bet365, you can get in the game, use the promo code NATION, NATION, for a wide range of games. Of course, NHL is back, and there's been lots of good games. The schedule maker, they got it right. Some key matchups right out of the hop. So that, NBA, and more at Bet365. I'm Jason Gregor, alongside Mike Rupp, as we clearly got the memo of bald head and black shirts today. Rupper, how you doing?
I'm good, buddy. I'm good. What's going on with you, man?
It's nice to have the NHL back. Congratulations. Did you celebrate? Were you wearing your American hat after the victory on Sunday? Because I know you were a little nervous going into it, and you were right, because Connor Hellebuck was unreal, and yeah. I do wonder, like, Nathan McKinnon's probably going to have some, a few sleepless nights, and maybe he'll moved on from it. He's won a lot, but man, there's not many times you see an elite player miss a wide open net.
No, yeah, I mean, it was I think for most people, either side of the the matchup you're rooting for, it was a nerve-wracking game. And then honestly, the rest of the day, I was just kind of like, I didn't know what to do with myself. It just, as far as just, I don't know. I think starting off the morning that way isn't usually how I start my mornings. It was 8:00 Eastern time, and just trying to, you got your coffee in hand. Usually it's my slowly start to wake up, and you get the emotions going, and the nervousness going. Connor Hellebuck was incredible. I mean, it clearly, that was a really tilted ice in Canada's favor. That's the nature of single elimination games and tournaments and big stages like that. But for Team USA, it's obviously huge in south of the border here, and it's something that I just think it's neat from this standpoint, just from American hockey. 1980, you had those guys, that next generation. The generation I kind of looked up to was like the Madonos, the Jeremy Roenick's. I mean, those guys looked at the 80, at the Miracle on Ice, and then they were kind of that new bar for USA Hockey. And then, that next generation coming through, it's like, Patty Kane's watching those guys, and then you move it to now this group that's there. They all watch Patty Kane, and that's like the bar for USA Hockey. And you know where I'm going with this. It's just, Jack Hughes and some of these guys will be that next wave in USA Hockey. When you think about it, that's going to be synonymous with where things are at and where your interest in fandom comes for USA Hockey. So it's a pretty big moment, obviously, in the States, and it was exciting. I was just happy we had those two teams match up, because I really feel that's the way it should have been.
Well, yeah, definitely was the matchup we wanted. I think everybody wanted to see it. I'll admit, I was surprised that Canada took it to them as much as they did for the whole game. Right. Like, I didn't expect that coming in, to be honest. And, it was interesting because a lot of people in Canada were like, oh my God, Canada doesn't have enough puck moving defensemen. It's going to cost them. Well, USA had tons of puck moving defensemen. It didn't help them. Right. They were defending way more than they were moving. So, you know what? In one game off, anything can happen. That's what makes it exciting. It's like a game 7, except there's no games 1 to 6. It's just into the game 7. And the one thing, and then we'll move on to the NHL, was, in the past, I know they've done it now, the timing was different. But I would love a bet in the World Cup. I would love a best of 3.
Yeah.
Instead of a 1 game for the final. They've had it. You go back to the Canada Cups, they had it. Mm-hmm. I just think that would be better. Now, you'd have to do it in September. And I still argue September is a better time to do it than breaking up the middle of the season. That's just me. I don't know where you come out on it, but I know they look and say they want continuity because the Olympics is always going to be in February. But that means every second year you're breaking it up and having a long break. And I just think if the World Cup wants to be a little bit different, which I think it should be, that's what I would propose.
Yeah, and you and I spoke about this the other day on your show, where this is kind of the luxury here that you have. So we had 4 nations, which is obviously NHL governed. And I don't think anybody thought that it was going to be as big as it was. And it was a huge success. And that kind of led into the Olympics, which is a little bit more out of the control of the National Hockey League. And now you got to experience the Olympics, and you could say the things you liked about it, the things you maybe would like to change, like you're mentioning, but that's the luxury that the NHL has. Like they can custom make this and add, subtract, change, mold things in a different way that they think will be the best product. And that's what I'm excited to see what those decisions are. And I think all things are on the table. And because I even think from the standpoint, like the one thing going into this tournament, the Olympics, that I was a little bit concerned about is I don't love IIHF rules. I don't love how different the game is at times under those rules and the way it's officiated. I thought it was actually pretty good. Like I don't have a ton of complaints from the Olympics, but I do think it's a better product, better game when it's under NHL rules. And that's what these other tournaments can be and will be. So to your point, I just think it's a really clean slate here after you had two tournaments totally different from one another. And now you've got a little bit of time here to the next one. And I think that the NHL will hit another home run with that.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm more so looking forward to seeing how many teams are going to be involved and what they do, because you know what? If you've won all the some of those European teams don't have, like at the Olympics, their roster wasn't 100% NHL players. So are those leagues going to allow their players to leave, their respective leagues to go to play in the World Cup in North America? Who knows? We'll see. Will they have like a Team Europe again where you have, because, if Germany doesn't have enough NHLers, but you want Leon Draisaitl and Mort Seider and Tim Stützle and those type of players playing the World Cup. So I'm not opposed to a Team Europe again. I know it's not representing one country, but it's getting your best players, and it's an NHL tournament involved in it. So I'll be interested to see what they do.
Yeah. No, I agree with that because that was one of the real interesting things of the prior World Cup. And I don't think it's going to look like that, but remember that one of the most exciting teams we ever talked about, and I know we've spoken about it a lot over the years, has been Team North America. Like I don't necessarily see them doing that again, but I mean, theoretically you could. I mean, that's one of the things you could do again at Team Europe that year. Remember how surprising Team Europe was in that World Cup? And but what does it look like? Which countries is it? Which countries can stand alone and compete? How much do we put into the way that those countries competed at this last games in Milan? So again, there's so many different things you can kick around, from rules to who's who's in, who's out, how many teams. I just think, again, it's a clean slate. And I think there's a lot of things to take into account and should be able to put together a hell of a product.
Mike Rupp, Jason Gregor here. Let's go to the NHL, Rupper. We are exactly 1 week away. Well, we're recording this on Friday morning. The trade deadline is next Friday. And, you look at last night's results and, hey, I tip the cap. I know the schedule maker didn't know it, but a lot of the games worked out with some teams that are battling each other for races early on. And we've got some separation. And I put it out in a tweet, the numbers, like the Boston Bruins, that was a huge win for them. Columbus is chasing them, but also they're now 8 points up on Florida. They're 8 points up on Toronto. They're 7 points up on Ottawa. And I looked at the numbers, and the Bruins, if you look at the numbers there, the Bruins just to basically win half the remaining games, to go 12-10-2. It's not a great record. It's not a dominant record. It's actually lower points percentage and win percentage than what they're playing right now. And if they do that, they have 97 points. Go 12-10-2. Ottawa, to catch them, would have to go 15-6-3. Florida would have to go 15-5-4. And the Leafs would have to go 16-4-3. Like I'm telling you, this year, I think it's over for those three teams, Ottawa, Florida, and Toronto. Like, because I'm not even giving, like, what if Boston wins 13 games, which wouldn't be crazy. Now, you got to, now it's 15-4-3 for Florida. Like I just don't, I don't see how you're going to make up that much ground. Like, I know you talked about it earlier, Rupper, when Buffalo went 10-0, how little ground they gained. I think Ottawa, Florida, and Toronto, I'm going to be interested to see, where that team looks at. I know in a week, maybe, hey, Boston loses 2 or 3 and they win 3, they might change their mind. But the reality of those numbers aren't great.
No, it's not. And it's interesting when you put it together like this, and you look at it from that standpoint, just to give it some sort of model. This is what would have to happen. And Boston is an interesting one because I thought they were the most vulnerable all year, that was going to be a team that could theoretically shoot themselves in the foot and kind of fall out. But you got to give credit for teams taking care of business when they need to take care of business. I mean, and what are they? Six. They're like 6-1-3 in their last 10. They're 10-0 at home in their last 10 home games. Like they're making a statement here, and I think they could do it. No, I'll be honest. No, I thought that it was going to be in a little bit of hang-on mode for them. They've said otherwise, but when you're looking at those teams, there's still something very difficult for me to say the Panthers are done today, which is wild with those numbers you just said, which is wild because, for various reasons, they haven't really given you much to think that they're going to go on some sort of run like you mentioned, but they are the Florida Panthers. And if there's a team, and it's not because of respect. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I respect what they've done and they've won that. They're different. I guess it is respect. It is respect for what they accomplished. And they've shown that they are different in the last number of years. And I just thought, man, the way they took care of business against the Leafs first game out, first period, I know it's Toronto and they are done. I will admit that with you. I think they are completely done. But Florida, they're on life support. I mean, it's game to game right now. I think literally the next regulation loss, depending on whom that opponent is, I might be able to say, all right, now they're done. It's that close for me, but I can't close the book. And they were pretty impressive in their first game back.
Rob, I can respect it. You have now they play Buffalo tonight, and now that's obviously a big game. And how about the Buffalo Sabres, man? They just keep rolling and winning. And if it wasn't for Tampa Bay going nuclear on everybody, Buffalo would be the hottest team talking about for the last 2 months. So I can understand, until some people are going to say until they're officially eliminated, Florida's not eliminated. And I guess I understand that, but this isn't last year. Right. And Barkov, last I checked, isn't in the lineup. And so, you got other guys banged up. And the reality is, like, Toronto, oh my goodness. I don't know if it was you who tweeted out, or maybe it was Johnny Lazarus, that video of the Leafs defensemen accidentally bumping into each other and gives up the rush goal last night. Like that really kind of just summarized just some years it's not your year. And it is not the year of the Leafs right now.
I just couldn't believe. And you want to give credit to Florida the way that first period went. I just couldn't believe coming out of the break, knowing how important this game is, who the opponent is, the history maybe even with the opponent. That was as one-sided of a first period as you're going to get. And so that play, when Morgan Riley kind of trips up, I mean, ends up being negated because it was offside, but I can't unsee what I saw. It was like the bad news bears right there. And that is what the season has been like for Toronto. It's interesting when you talk about those three teams, though, and whether everyone wants to say they're all eliminated at this point or should be looking to sell because you got the deadline coming up next week. Florida's an interesting one for me, though, because there's not a ton of situations on that team. Like, I think the Florida Panthers are going to chalk this season up as we were injured, we were fatigued, we were all these different things. I don't think they're going to look at it as we are a broken group as far as the build of the team. Now, that could be incorrect. It could be correct. However you want to look at it. I think the big questions are going to be Sergei Bobrovsky. I feel like they feel pretty confident they'll be able to bring him back as long as that number is the right number. But I think AJ Greer is probably the one for me. And I think he's a pending UFA. I like the value that he has. I don't know how much of a return you're going to get. Like, he's more important for them to re-sign, I think. And then you've got some other players coming up the following season. So I guess my point is that even if they are out, I don't really think they're going to be selling off much. So right now it's just like, let's roll forward and see what we can do.
And they might. The one guy that I think would have value, and eventually you probably got to have room for some younger guys in your lineup, is I just wonder about Evan Rodrigue, right? He's only a $3 million cap hit. I think lots of teams would be interested in him. right? Like you can't keep everybody forever, right? And the Panthers,
he was the best player on the ice last night. He was awesome that first period.
Yeah. And so maybe they don't trade him because his cap hit is just too good. So I get it. But, when you look at Barkov, Kachuk, Reinhardt, Bennett, Verhaeghe, Marchand, right? Like those guys are all signed until at least 2030 and longer for some of them. And, Anton Lundell's also in that group, and Seth Jones and Aaron Ekblad and Gustav Forsling and Mikko Mikkola. So their top guys are all locked up. And I like Roger. I think he's a really good player, but I just think like Florida's given up a lot of assets the last few years, and rightfully so. And it worked out. They went to 3 cups and they won 2 of them. I wonder about Bill Zito and him looking and saying, you know what, like you're going to have to move somebody. And this guy, he could get us, I think he could get you a really good return because you mentioned it. He's playing very well. His cap hit is incredibly friendly. He's obviously got boatloads of Stanley Cup experience in the playoffs. And I think there'd be tons of teams that would be looking for a guy like that. Now, with the injuries and stuff, maybe they won't do it, but he's the one name that I look at and say, would Florida maybe consider it? Because I think you get pretty good return.
Well, just even while you got him right there, I mean, right now, because of injuries and because of situations, you could slot him at center. He's not generally a center. He's usually playing wing for good stretches. And so you could play center, you could play wing. The one person on there that, and I don't know the answer to this, because I think that I was hoping for some quicker progression, I should say, is Mackie Samoskevich. If internally you feel like Samoskevich is ready to take that next step because he's an offensive player, that's where you can sit there and look at it and say, like to your point, Greg's, all right, we've sent out a lot of assets, a lot of equity, whether it's picks, whatever, the future. Now we can start building that back. And Evan Rodriguez would be a great player for a great price. I think a lot of teams would love to add him. I think you have to look at that internally, and that's the one player that comes up to me and to my mind is Samoskevich ready to take another step, take on more? Because Evan Rodriguez is like that utility guy. Like you can never have too many of those. Like we've seen him play 4th line, 3rd line, 2nd line, 1st line. We've seen him play power play. We've seen him all over the lineup. So those guys, you can't pluck those from trees. But yeah, I think there'd be a lot of teams lining up for the services of Evan Rodriguez.
Yeah, I would agree. The Maple Leafs, I think, are without question, and the Senators. I think they have to be in sell mode. And you look at it, you look at the Ottawa Senators, and this will be a disappointing season for them. They were expecting to kind of become a regular playoff team. I don't think there's any debate about that, and it hasn't happened for a variety of reasons. Claude Giroux's 38. He's a pending UFA, but he has all of his no movement clause, everything. He controls it. What do you think the interest level would be for Giroux to want to go somewhere?
So that's an interesting one for me, because you remember he was going to chase and kind of positioned it where he only wanted to go to the Florida Panthers, and he goes that year to the Florida Panthers when they end up losing in the Stanley Cup Finals, and so it's. He wants, I believe that just like every player, you want to chase a cup. I think the big thing, though, is Ottawa's home. Like, that's where he's from. Like, is he still, and I don't know. I don't know him, but how much does that play into it? I still think he's an important piece for this team. And if you can get him moving forward at the right price, I think you want to keep him. That's one that jumps out. Another one for me is, it wouldn't probably move the needle too much, but Lars Eller, I think with his experience, maybe a team you can look and see what the market is for him. Nick Jensen's the biggest one for me. That's one where I think you can get a minutes eating right shot defenseman. I think that's something that you can get a nice return for. And if you're Ottawa, I think it's time to make some changes in that regard. So. That'd be probably the biggest one for me, which is kind of funny looking at these 3 teams. Nick Jensen is the one that I think low key can bring a nice return. So as far as Toronto, I'll tell you what, man, I have no idea what to do with this team, because when you talk about moving guys out, being sellers, I don't even know who's going to be there next year. Are they going to make a coaching change? Are you still gonna shake up the core? Like I think it's so many. There's been so many times you look and it feels like every year at this team, and it feels like another very, um, I guess, dramatic shift in where they're going to go. It just feels like that's going to happen right now. I don't see them being a team that's going to stay pat, but I have no idea what that is. Is it a bigger thing? Is it you went from the core four last year. What do you call it now? Is it the core three? Do you still look at that about moving one of those guys? I think that's on the table.
I think Morgan Riley's the one guy that I think they're gonna strongly look at to see. Now he's got 4 years left at 7.5. I wonder about the fit for him in Toronto. It's just defensively, that's been an area of concern for them. Like the Bobby McMahon rumors don't make a ton of sense to me, because Toronto's not going to rebuild, right? Like I don't see them tearing this down at all. So Bobby McMahon's a player, Rupper, that's a really good complementary top six player for your team. At worst, he's a dynamite third liner, but I think he's in today's NHL, he's a legit second line player. He's big, he can skate, he can shoot, he's going to score you 20 to 25 goals. Like there's not a lot of those guys in the league. And yeah, he's going to get a raise, as he should. You don't have to overpay him by any stretch of the imagination. But when for a team that, like, I like Nyes a lot, right? I'd have Nyes. I have him. Then I feel like, okay, I've got my top six. Now let's fill out the rest of the roster, but they've got to alter their defense. Like, unfortunately, Tanev, he's always banged up. When he's healthy, he's a good defenseman. But the problem is he misses a lot of games. And so if you trade Morgan Riley, you're probably trading him at a deficit asset right now. So that's the challenge. And he obviously does control where he goes and who might be interested. But I think they got to revamp their blue line. And if I'm their GM, I'm not trading Bobby McMahon. I would rather try to sign him to an extension. And just because you don't sign him at the trade deadline I don't think his contract is one that's going to demand $6-7 million. Like,
no,
I don't see that. So you know what? If he's 4.5, I don't think that's a crazy number.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And it depends where. I don't think it would demand that, but then that's where it gets a little bit squirrely, is you don't know, I guess, kind of what's out there. I mean, you got him at 1.3 now, and pending UFA, like where are the comps on the market? Where does their camp think his number will be? And will that almost position him out of Toronto? Like, it might not even be a choice by Toronto. Like, because I think that Toronto's going to be operating. I think it's big to move Morgan Riley's salary and change that blue line. You're bang on with that. But this is a team that they've got kind of goes back to what I said. Like, I have no idea what to do, because you start looking at some of these pending UFA, like a Bobby McMahon, and like you need help up front, you need help on the back end, you need healthy goalies. Like I don't know, do you have any of those things answered up at this point? Like I don't think you do. So Bobby McMahon is an interesting one for me. But then if you're smoking out that you're not going to be able to get him signed, that's a nice number to throw Bobby McMahon, a big body, on another team for the playoffs. And like when you think back, and I look back. Look at the moves that Tampa made when they won their cups and what they gave up for those players. And I'm not saying Bobby McMahon is going to be that to a specific team, but some of the things that Bobby McMahon is doing is a little more than what we saw, I don't know, Barclay Goodrow doing in San Jose before he goes over to Tampa. And I think that was a first going the other way. Blake Coleman in New Jersey. I think that was a first. Like, this is stuff that Toronto can really get a return on. But I agree. In a perfect world, you get him re-signed. But I just don't know what that appetite is and what that thought process of what he can make on the open market actually is at.
And another team that's, because they have games in hand, Rupper, they probably feel they're in a little bit better of a spot. But the Columbus Blue Jackets are going to be a fascinating team to watch in the next week. Their odds aren't great because, the Islanders and, man, young Schaefer gets a 3-week break and comes back. We'll talk about him, but he scores 2 huge goals. And, he's got a legit chance to set the NHL record for most goals by a rookie defenseman. He's up to 18 now, and which is crazy. But, you look at that, and Boston's at 71 points, Buffalo's at 72, and Buffalo's rolling. Columbus Blue Jackets are at 65. They also could catch the Islanders or the Penguins, who have, and we'll get to them in a sec. I think they have the toughest schedule in March in the NHL. Like, it is murderer's row for them, and they're going to do it without Crosby. If they make the playoffs, that'll be amazing. But Columbus, they got games in hand, yet they're still 6 points back. And they've got 3 players, Rupper, that I think would garner some interest, all pending UFAs. Charlie Coyle, Mason Marchman, Boone Jenner. Coyle's 33, Marchman's 30, Boone Jenner's 32. What do you think Don Waddell does? Like, can you trade one? But if you trade one, do you trade all 3? Or if it's like, trade one and sign 2? What do you think their mindset is in Columbus?
I think their mindset, last night's, that loss against the Bruins was tough. Like, what a different feeling today would be. And it's not the end all be all for Columbus today as we sit, because they can still strike. And I think that just made it a little more challenging of making it through via wild card. Like, that's because you lost to the Boston Bruins. Now, the path has always kind of felt like it needed to be top 3 in the Metro. And you mentioned Pittsburgh without Sidney Crosby for 4 weeks. The New York Islanders, who end up winning that game in overtime against Montreal, but they don't look that great at times. Those 2 teams are pretty vulnerable. So I think Columbus is right there. And in the way that Don Waddell went and got Rick Bowness, that was the most clear and evident indication that they are all in on making the playoffs this year. So barring them losing their next couple games before the trade deadline, I think that they're going to keep their guys. I don't see them looking at keeping one eye on, all right, well, maybe if we could trade this guy and get some assets and then also stay in the mix here. I think they've committed to the mix. Like, they're pushing for it. So very important games for them. I do think that they have a great chance of getting in. But that goes back to what we were saying before. It's about believing in some of the teams that particular teams have to go through to get there. And I haven't always believed in the Boston Bruins, but they keep answering. So maybe I should start changing my tune on them. But so maybe I can park the Bruins, saying I just don't know if they're going to be able to catch the Bruins. But I don't know about the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't know about the New York Islanders. So I think that they're going to be committed. I don't think they're going to be moving bodies out. I think they've got a decent chance here.
Well, the game of the weekend is tomorrow night. Islanders, Columbus. A massive game, right? Like, you look at it, if you're the Islanders, you win that game and you put yourselves 8 points ahead of Columbus. And the Blue Jackets would have 2 games in hand, but they got to win those games in hand. And that's not a guarantee. So that's a game. And if you're the Blue Jackets, it's like, man, we win that game. Now you're 4 points back with 2 games in hand, and you've got a lot of momentum, right? So it is wild. That's the game, honestly, of the weekend to me. Like, Islander fans are going to be pumped up. Columbus fans are going to be jazzed up, and that's a massive game, right? And then the Islanders play Florida the next day on Sunday, and then they go out west, right? But the Ducks and the Kings and the Sharks and the Blues, and then they play. It's kind of weird because they play a lot of Western Conference teams. I think their next 6 games after Florida are all against Western teams, even at home. So it's kind of an odd part of their schedule. So they do face Columbus again on March 22nd. And then they get into, Eastern teams again, Florida again, Pittsburgh, Buffalo. But it's kind of weird. The Islanders, their first part of March is against all the West teams. And normally you don't play that many out of conference games in a row late in March.
No, it's a good point you bring up, because I've thought this for a while too, where it's like, I feel like we've seen it a little more prevalent in the last number of years, but there used to be a time where when you're getting down to 20 games or less in the regular season, like, you're not playing the other conference. Very rarely. If you do, at times it always felt like it was one of those Western Conference teams that are, as far east as you could probably be if you're an Eastern Conference team. So it is strange that late, kind of going on a run like that, or I should say a trip like that. It could be really good for you, or it could be really bad for you, because we've seen, and we talk about all the time in the East, when you have those West Coast trips, and it works vice versa, where yeah, that's a great opportunity to go out there, spend some time on the road, get a little bit of a run together, but it can go the other way really quick too. And this isn't the time of year where you need to go out and get some camaraderie, and that's meant for the beginning. You're around each other enough. Like, you've already established that. Yeah, I mean, this is a strange time. You don't see it over the years, but maybe lately it's been happening a little bit more, where you have some out of conference travel when there's not a ton of hockey left in the season.
Yeah. So, because if you look at at Columbus's schedule, they have that massive game against Oilers, but after that, 6 of the next 8 are against non-playoff teams, and so they feel like that's where Don Waddell might be. If they win that game on Saturday, that might be enough for him to say, "Hey, we just gotta go with our guys here and maybe make one small addition." But if you lose that game on Saturday, that could push them into a position where suddenly they're sellers. And lots of NHL teams would be like, oh, Boone Jenner, oh, Mason Marshman, oh, Charlie Coyle, like center iceman. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. So Charlie Coyle is an interesting one too, because they're in it's a tough spot. It's only in a tough spot if you're still thinking of who you are and what your objective is. And that's why, in my opinion, I think they've already made that decision, that they're good going forward, because you're sitting here, Charlie Coyle, before last night's game, he had 8 goals last 11 games. He's 8-12 now. So like, he's on fire. He's a big body. I played with the kid. He's a machine, the way he's in shape, and he's powerful. Like, he's playoff hockey. Any team would want to add him, but he's also really important to your team and your team potentially getting into the playoffs. So these are those spots where I just think GMs need conviction in these moments. Who are we? What are we going for? What do we need to do right now? And if you're going to try to fulfill both, that's where you get yourself in trouble. And so, we'll see what Columbus ends up doing.
Yeah, they're an interesting team for me to watch. But man, I'll be trying to tune into that game on. I know it's not a playoff game, but it has lots of potential playoff ramifications early on. One other team, let's kind of maybe move up the ladder a little bit. The Buffalo Sabres, and they've been really good now, Rupper, for over 30 games. Like, it's a 10-game streak. Okay, let's see what they do, and they keep winning, and they keep playing well, and they win tight games. They can win high scoring games. How big of a swing do you think Jarmo Kekalainen makes for his team before next Friday?
Yeah, I mean, this one is, I had the Devils game against them coming out of break, and this is a good hockey club. Like, I don't know if anybody else needs to hear that. With the type of run they've been on in their last 29 games, it's pretty wild. But when you watch them play, like, this is not by chance. It's not a fluke. They have players that are executing. They're playing a good brand of hockey. They're not riverboat gambling like they once used to do. They're playing hockey. And so, I mean, I don't know what you do with this group, because you and I have mentioned it, where there's enough of a sample size here where it's kind of interesting, because they've graduated from, wow, this is the same old Buffalo Sabres team, to, oh, it's a nice little run. It's got them into the picture. Can they make the playoffs? Now it feels like they are going to make the playoffs. And then when you look at it all in totality over the last 29 games, 30 games, you're like, is this one of the best teams in the East? I mean, you have to ask yourself that. You have to ask yourself that. This is not like, you can't sit there and be like, this is the old Buffalo Sabres anymore. You could say that when they're winning 6 in a row, losing 6 in a row, like that they are dominating right now. Like, so I don't know. So I guess my question is, do you just, because it's such a special run, do you just let these guys experience it? You didn't set out this year thinking you're going to win a Stanley Cup, but that doesn't mean you don't try to go for it, right? Like, so like, that's that fine line. Like, I think you'd let this crew go and get into the playoffs and see what you could do. But I also think it would speak to that room to do something to seem to give them a little bit of a shot in the arm. That's a good team. That is a very good hockey club. They get great goaltending right now.
Well, here's the thing. Since December 1st, best team in the NHL, the Buffalo Sabres, 23-8-2 in their 33 games. They got 48 points. The Wild have 47. Tampa Bay has 46, as does Detroit. And so they've been really good. And you look at it, they've got two lines where everybody's scoring. Nate Thompson, Ryan McLeod, Alex Tuck, Jack Quinn, Josh Doan, Peyton Krebs. They've all got 20 or more points in 33 games, right? They're all over 0.6 a point a game player. And two of them, and then then I throw in Rasmus Dahlin, who's a point a game defenseman in that time, 32 points in 32 games. And very quietly, Matthias Samuelsson has 22 points from the back end, Rupper, and is plus 21. So, you look at them and I say, okay, what do they need? Right. And that doesn't, Josh Norris has been, he's missed some games, but when he's in, he's almost a point a game player. So I don't know if I want to disrupt my top six because it's rolling,
right.
But at the same time, if I'm Ottawa, I would like to add a top 9 forward, right? Because you never know, maybe someone goes up or down. And if you got 3 lines and everybody's rolling, they're all getting ice time, you're pretty happy about it. Florida's proven, your fourth line can be an energy line that plays 7 or 8 minutes in the playoffs. So don't tell me that you need, massive depth. I think that gets overrated sometimes. But man, when you see the production they're getting offensively, then you throw in what they're doing from their goaltenders, Rupper, and I look at Buffalo and I feel like if I'm Jarmo Kekalainen, I don't want to just tell myself I can only win one round. No. I feel like, you know what? This is now December, January. We're near the end of February of 3 months where, almost half the season where you're the best team in the league. That's got to count for something in the mind of the GM and for an organization. Like, it's great to see they haven't made the playoffs and this. Hopefully it ends. Well, it's going to end their drought of 14 years. And I know you don't want to throw away the farm for a team like that, but I think you could make an astute addition that could help you. Yeah. Like if you're Buffalo, just win a playoff round for all these guys. Tate Thompson did just play an Olympic gold medal, so that's nice. But your team building that thicker skin to battle for a month or 6 weeks or 2 months if you go all the way to the Cup, I think is something that they have a lot of guys that need. Like there's very few guys in that team. Like Ryan McLeod did go to the Stanley Cup final with Edmonton 2 years ago. So there's him, but not a lot after that.
No, there has not been. And even when you think about it from just, even Rasmus Dahlin was just playing best on best in the last, 12 months, going back to 4 Nations and then the games in Milan. That should help him. Like, he has not been in the playoff. Like, they have guys who just simply don't know what it takes. Like, you can't experience or you can't know what is needed or know what to expect until you experience it. And some of these guys still haven't. Stanley Cup playoffs is a different animal in some regards too. So, but just experienced best on best, I think would spill over for him, Tage Thompson, some of these other guys. But they got some really interesting players that have been big for them. Jason Zucker's been awesome for them. Josh Doan, awesome for them. Like, they've got depth pieces like you're mentioning. Peyton Krebs is playing really good right now. When you start looking at some of the acquisitions of these guys over the years and the trades that make these happen, the one thing that is kind of the X factor for me is Michael Kesselring. He's a nice defenseman, and he was banged up all year long, came back, had a little rough go there. It's going to take a minute, but once he starts getting comfortable, you look at this D-core, and we already know about the kind of their big three, I guess, if you will. Then you add in like a Kesselring and some of these pieces, like they check the boxes in a lot of these different areas. So just one other thing to mention, and I know that most people probably are aware of this, but some that aren't. I saw some of the numbers come out the other day, just as far as the Olympics and the kind of the market share for viewership in U.S. cities. And here's the one thing that we always see when you're talking about viewership: Stanley Cup Finals every single year. You could probably date this back for a couple decades or more. It's always the 2 teams in the Stanley Cup Finals, respective fan bases, which would be obvious, and then it's Buffalo. Buffalo's always number 3. So Buffalo Sabres haven't been in the playoffs in God knows years, but their viewership for the Stanley Cup Finals is always number 1 outside the 2 teams in the finals. And in the Olympics, 50% of people watching television in Buffalo at that time were watching the Olympics. Like it's an awesome fan base. Like that is about as Canadian as we can get in the United States is the Buffalo fan base right there. So if they can get in, like it looks like it, and go on some sort of run, Greg's, I think it's going to be awesome.
Oh, it would be. Like I said, the first playoff game in Buffalo will be one of the best playoff tickets of the entire spring. Yeah. No question, man. You've got.
Can you imagine if they end up playing Detroit? What if they played Detroit? Like that series, I would pay anything to go travel that series and cover that series, you know?
Yeah. But 15 years of pent up frustration, and Sabre fans are highly passionate. Honestly, like I've thought about, like, there are certain places you just want to be there. And I would like to be in the building for that game. Honestly, I think it would be unreal. So I'm strongly considering it, looking to say, you know what? Sometimes in life, you gotta go on some fun trips. That's a trip I would go to. Just to go to Buffalo, just take it all in and be like, hey, here we are. We're going to be in Buffalo for the first playoff game in 15 years. I think it would be outstanding, man. I would absolutely love it. So now one other team I saw, our buddy Jeff Merrick, of course, who does this pod with us on Mondays. He's talking about maybe Dougie Hamilton to Carolina, because we've heard about New Jersey for quite some time. And they bought him to the healthy scratch him a while back. It's an interesting one to me. I don't hate it. I look at Carolina, and they're obviously a very deep team, and you get Dougie Hamilton back, but it's a pretty big ticket to move at the trade deadline. That's the challenge.
Yeah, I mean, what does that look like? I mean, first and foremost, I mean, I think Tom Fitzgerald's done a good job. Whether I like Andre Palat, but the way that team was built, they needed to move that salary. Like, this team needs to shake up, whether it's now or the summertime, and they need to free up some cap space. So moving out Palat's, I think he was at $5 million. But then when you look at Dougie Hamilton, that's the big one. Like that's the big one. And Dougie, prior to the break, was playing really, really good, and he made it where there's maybe started to create more of a market. But what does that look like? Is there how much retention is on that? Is it? I think if you're the Devils, if you could find someone to move them to, I think that's the big thing too. Because I'm pretty sure I'm going to look it up right now. I'm pretty sure Dougie has that trade protection. So that's going to be something too, is who are you going to be able to work with? Who's Dougie want to go to? So it's going to be big, but if they can move them, and that doesn't mean like whoever gets them is wow, you got fooled in this one, you got fleeced in this one. Like, I don't believe that. I think Dougie has certain value. It's been a struggle this year for him though. It just hasn't worked in New Jersey, but quite frankly, it hasn't worked for many guys. So, I mean, how much do you put? This is a team that cannot score goals. And Dougie is a guy that's his MO. Like, he creates. He's got a big shot. And if that could be a team like Carolina, I think that could be a good fit. But for the Devils standpoint, I think you'd be very happy to move on from that contract.
Oh, yeah. No question about it that you would. The West is interesting because you've got some teams that are in the playoffs who aren't playing very well. The Seattle Kraken. You look at the wild card race. The Kraken. The one team to watch for here is the Nashville Predators. They won again. They're 2 points out of a playoff spot, Rupper. And I know a lot of people are talking like, oh, the Preds are going to sell. Did you know we were talking about Buffalo, that they were the best team in the NHL, where the Predators, since December 1st, have been the third best team in the West. Minnesota, 47 points. Colorado, 43 points. The Nashville Predators, 41 points. And they've moved to within 2 of a playoff spot. I don't buy that the Preds are sellers. If I'm the Nashville Predators, that's a market that wants to get in. I don't think you're bad enough to flame out. So you might as well go. You've been playing good hockey for 3 months. You had just an abysmal start, but you've battled back. And you're 2 points back of Seattle. And if I'm the Predators, I'm feeling comfortable that I could beat out Seattle, honestly. And so I think the Preds, I'd be surprised if they were sellers, to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because when you look at Nashville, some of the moves they've made in the last couple seasons, like when you look at, I guess, the cupboard, the draft picks that they have, they've got quite a few. Like you're talking, got it up right here. You've got all your first round picks the next 3 years. You've got 2 second round picks this year. You've got, it's just when you're talking picks wise, there's a boatload of like they've got all that stuff. So it's not like you have to sit here and be like, oh man, like we got to start replenishing some of our draft picks. You have that already. So like, do you sit here and just see what this group can do? And I agree 100% what you're saying is this is a market that I think they need to get in. I think they need to get into the playoffs and have that for their fan base. But they also have a lot of players that are pending UFA. And that's where it gets a little bit tough. So I wonder is there a world where this is a team that I believe can have one eye on the playoffs and one eye on maybe unloading a couple of the UFAs that they have. And depending on what you can get in return, as long as you're not, I don't think many of those pending UFAs are the guys that are going to cripple what you're trying to do right now. The big names that we've heard all year were like the Stamkos, the Ryan O'Reilly, but those guys are signed. So you don't have to do anything right now on those guys. You can punt on that for a later date. So, the guys that are coming up are like, the Michael Buntines. These are type of guys where, all right, well, can we still be moving forward like we are and grab a playoff spot if we trade a Michael Bunting or just as an example? I do think they can do that. So it'll be very interesting what they end up deciding to do. But I agree with what you're saying. They need to make it. I think this is one of those markets that needs the playoff gate, the playoff revenue. So it's totally doable here. And I believe in them, like you mentioned, more than I do Seattle for sure.
Yes, 100%. You look at some teams like the Jets don't have a ton of guys to trade. And Jonathan Toews says he wouldn't waive his no-move clause. He's from Winnipeg, so he wants to stay there. The Calgary Flames, obviously, I think they're open for business. So do you think Kadri is obviously their biggest piece? I think Blake Coleman's pretty much guaranteed that he's going to get traded. He has lots of value. They need to recoup some. Kadri's the interesting one to me, Rupper. How much can you get? And could you potentially maybe get more for him in the offseason? That's going to be their day. He's got lots of time left, right? So I don't think that if you wait, you're suddenly, we're trading him at the peak of his time. Like, I don't think it's going to change that much other than you get one extra playoff run for him. But it's not like he only has 2 years left. Like, he has multiple years. So any team that acquires him would know that they get multiple runs out of him.
Yeah, it's a tricky one because I think if you are a playoff team right now, or you have aspirations to make the playoffs, you think you're going to make the playoffs, whatever the narrative you want to put on them, you should be picking up the phone and calling Craig Conroy. You should have a conversation. I think Nazem Kadri, there's no need for, I could say who I think would be probably needing him the most, but every team would love to have him that's getting into the playoffs. Can you do it? Can you swing it? And do you have the appetite for 3 more years at $7 million when he's 35 years old? Like, that to me is where I think there's something in me that thinks, I don't know how they would swing it, but can a team like Colorado be creative? Like a team that needs to win now, like a team that where you're not so concerned about those next 3 years. You're concerned about the now. That would be a Colorado for me. But I also think a team that would probably really benefit having him this year and moving forward, if you can make that cap work now and in the future, that is Montreal. Like that's the big one. I think you need to have a guy like that. A guy that's the Montreal Canadiens, I think would benefit immensely of a Nazem Kadri. But I think you're picking up the phone, you're calling Calgary. If you're serious about making noise in the playoffs, I think he could do it. I don't know what that contract looks like down the road, but depending on what team I am and where I think we're at, I don't care. I want to win today.
Yeah. Well, you're bang on with that because some GMs, you're the GM now. I don't know if I'll be the GM in 4 years. Like, honestly, it's not, head coach and GMs are not the most secure jobs long term outside of a few guys. So I could see somebody going for it for certain. Let's bring in Pat Puff to the pod. Patty, how you doing?
Doing great. Happy that hockey is back and working our way towards the playoffs here. So it's getting exciting. Trade deadline next week, next Friday. So that's going to be an interesting weekend for sure and an interesting week. So we'll jump right into that with Fill in the Blank, presented by Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. Bet365. Download the app, get in on the game. Use code NATION. It must be 19 or older. Bet365. The first one I have for you, you talked about in the East, Ottawa, Toronto, and Florida being done. And I'm maybe throwing you under the bus a little bit here without the numbers, but obviously in the West, St. Louis, Chicago, Vancouver probably done in your eyes. But who else in the West is probably done, quote unquote? I mean, obviously anything can happen at this point, but taking a look at the numbers, what do you think?
Well, by looking in the West, I think, Calgary, Winnipeg, anybody below Calgary, Winnipeg, Chicago, and Louis, Vancouver, they're all done. No question about it. The LA Kings are on life support, man. They've lost 4 in a row. Yeah. They got absolutely shredded by the Edmonton Oilers last night, 8-1. That game wasn't really close. The San Jose Sharks, I think, it's been a great story. And I know that, they'll look and say, geez, games in hand. I think San Jose is they've kind of started to hit the skid. So I'm going to say that they're done for sure. The Kings are on the ultimate life support system. And I don't love it. Like, I think the Kings, it might depend what the Preds do, to be honest, because the Preds, they play Dallas, Detroit, Columbus, and Boston. 4 good teams all in the next, before Friday's trade deadline, 4 games in 6 days starting tonight. And that could decide if the Preds go 2-1-1 or 2-2 even, they might just say, okay, we're going to buy it. If they do, like the Kings, I'm going to say the King, like, I don't like anything about their team, man. They haven't looked good for a while here. So I know Rupper's holding on to Florida, but I don't know if I know that LA doesn't look like they're that far out. So mathematically they're not out, but I don't like how they look right now at all.
No, I don't either. San Jose is the one that is piques my interest the most because the games in hand that they have, I think Mike Grier he's going to be looking around a lot on trying to do something significant here, I think, at the deadline. I don't know what that is exactly, just to give them a boost. I mean, it's been a really cool story, and most of that's going to fall on Macklin Celebrini shoulders and how great he's been all year. But I just don't think you can let that just fall to the wayside. I think where they've gotten to this point, that they're sitting here at the very end of February, and they're right there. Like, you need to reward that. You need to reward that your second-year franchise player has carried this team to this point. I think that even if it doesn't work out and they don't make the playoffs, I think a good move for San Jose would be like, get somebody with a little bit of term here too, and get somebody to help do the heavy lifting. They need a shot in the arm in that department, and I think that what this team has done, you owe that to them. So San Jose, I know the question was who's not going to make it. I think that they're getting in that dangerous, kind of realm right now, but I think they're going to get some help around the corner. So I would agree with what Greg's is saying. Anyone probably Calgary and down. I don't feel great about the Kings, though.
Yeah, that's fair. And I mean, they have Panarin now, but watching the Oiler game last night, like, you didn't hear much of him. Granted, he's new to LA, so we'll give him some time to adjust. But yeah, definitely they need some help for sure. Second question I have for you. We've heard a lot recently about Patrik Laine. So my question for you is, it sounds like he's going to be in a new sweater by next Friday. Where would you put him? Where is a landing spot for Patrik Laine if you were out there? Rupp, who do you think?
I mean, listen, for me, I think that's more of just a salary dump. So it's on, Patrik Laine we've seen this a few different times with him. And remember when he got to Montreal, it's like every power play they were getting on, he was scoring. He's just very one-dimensional. That's how he's been. And so I think that with that salary, it's, I hope that he can get to a place where he can start A, being healthy, and B, just start finding his groove again. But to me, I don't think this is like, what franchise is going to be looking at this from the standpoint of, this is going to be a weapon that we got. It's kind of like a reclamation project in some ways that I think you're going to maybe have it sweetened a little bit because you're going to help get this contract off Montreal's books. Like that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Patrik Laine would be, even if you retain 50%, because that's all you can do now. There's no more three-way trades to make it down to 25. He'd be a $4.35 million cap hit. He's got no goals. Like, guys, who in the right mind is taking Patrik Laine? Like, why would any contender think that this guy can help us at that big of a cap hit? Because I know that his cap hit's less than that in the regular season, but in the playoffs, 50%, he's 4.35. That's what he is. So I don't see it. Like, hey, you can get everybody to talk, but I think Patrik Laine is a player that someone might take a flyer on in the offseason where you would, and I'd have to look at his game. He might even qualify for some bonus structure due to miss games, but I just can't see why a team would take on Patrik Laine unless it's just a dump to a team. So Montreal wants to free up cap space. That's what I could see. Somebody at the bottom says, oh, you're going to give us a second or a third to do it. We'll eat the money for the rest of the year. That's the only way he's getting traded. He's not going.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was meaning. Like, it's going to be something like that. Like, hey, we're going to toss in another pick here. You're going to do us a solid. You just basically are acquiring a pick to pay him throughout the year. Then he'll be, unrestricted free agent this summer. So I could see that. But as far as finding a team that is going into the playoffs right now, that's not a fit.
Yeah, there's lots of teams that could afford him that near the bottom if they're willing to do it. Like, Chicago has done that in the past. Their ownership's not afraid to take on some salary for 6 weeks to gain a pick.
I think that's fair. We'll jump to kind of some more bigger names, but I don't know how likely these are. Matt Larkin posted an article on Daily Faceoff, and these names were at the very bottom, tier 3. Not likely, but possible blockbusters that could happen. Maybe not this year, but maybe in the summer. And these were the 5 names: Brady Tkachuk, Owen Power, Alexis Lafreniere, Andrei Svechnikov, and Morgan Rielly. Now, my question to you for fill in the blank is, which of these players do you think is most likely to move or will move first? It might not be this year, might not even be this summer, but which of these players do you think will move first?
Oh, man.
Because the fact that they're even on the list is interesting enough to me. And I kind of spoke with him about it. He said they might come off next week, but the fact that they're even mentioned is just surprising to me.
Well, Owen Power, you know what? Their top 4, they play their top 4 significantly. They all play 20 minutes. And, even Kesselring, since he's come back in the 16, is averaging like 13 minutes. So there's no chance Owen Power is getting traded before the deadline. Svechnikov, like, are we talking could you see us, some of those guys getting traded for each other amongst Tkachuk, Lafreniere, Svechnikov? Maybe, but like, why would Ottawa trade Brady Tkachuk unless there's something off the ice that I'm unaware of? But on the ice, like, come on, I'd be surprised by that. Morgan Rielly, I'll take him. I think of the most likely of those 5, he would be at the top of my.
Yeah, Lafreniere is an interesting one for me because he's still young enough where I think the Rangers know at this point. I mean, he did score a goal in last night's game, but I think that Lafreniere is one that, with no Panarin there, I think there's a little bit of hesitation where you could have some value sinking even more on this player. So either you believe in him and you believe that he's going to start taking some steps, then you keep him. But if I just don't know, when you don't have a facilitator like Panarin, way this team is looking and the way that they are looking to probably be next year, you don't want this first overall pick's value to drop even more. I think he's still young enough now where you can get some feelers out there. I think there'd be tons of teams that would be, hey, like, yeah, first overall pick, like, we'll take a flyer on him if the deal's right. So that'd probably be the one for me that would make the most sense.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of names that are available in New York right now, and Svechnikov might be the one for me just because he mentioned he'd be open to a trade, and he's starting to play better, but maybe that's the reason for the Canes to sell high on him this summer if they can, maybe. But yeah, I think Lafreniere might be the one for me as well. But we'll keep an eye on Matt Larkin's trade boards at Daily Faceoff. For now, that's all I have for you with Fill in the Blank by Bet365.
A few other things quickly, Rob. I've got to plug in my laptop. It's almost dying here while I'm not paying attention. I look at the week leading up to this, and I want to get it. Your thoughts as a player. You're in lots of dressing rooms, and there's nervous excitement. There's probably angst. There's some guys that are like, I'm not worried about it, because certain guys know they're not getting traded. But kind of maybe take us a little bit inside into your experience of the pressure and stress, or maybe sometimes excitement. If you're on a bad team and you're a good player, you might be thinking, hey, I'm going to get moved somewhere where I have a chance to win, right? And you probably have to keep that to yourself, because you don't want to tell your teammates, hey, I'm really happy to be leaving you guys. But you must have experienced all those different types of emotions from different guys over the years leading up to it. Do you have any stories that from the week of trade deadline or the final few days of trade leading up to trade deadline that stick out?
Honestly, the things that stuck out the most was just was probably banter and just back and forth, guys playing pranks on one another. I remember we used to go up to the we'd go tell the trainer to come on the bench at practice and call a particular player over and see, kind of when you're doing your skate arounds before the coaches come out before practice starts, and you have the trainer call someone over and say, hey, Coach Gregor wants to see you, and have him walk down the hallway, and everybody on the ice is like, oh shit, oh my God, he's getting traded. And then he comes back out and everyone's laughing. And, it's funny. It scares the crap out of guys doing that to him, but it's a stressful time. I mean, it's a stressful time. Yeah. I don't know. I didn't feel it too much leading up to, I'd say like the day before deadline and deadline day. It doesn't matter if your name's out there or not. And you don't like looking at your cell phone. You get a text message and it buzzes in your pocket, and you're whipping that phone out and you're looking, you're like, it gets nerve-wracking. So it's not a great place to be, just because at the end of the day, we're professional athletes as to what we sign up for, but there's also other elements to it too. Guys have families. Guys really like it in certain areas. And when you have things that are not in your control as a human, of where you're living, and there's other people that it affects, that affects you even more. So I didn't love it. I don't really have an incredible story on it, except usually just that stuff, guys messing around with one another, maybe a guy getting pulled off the ice. It always gets a little bit. I've been on teams before where you have a player pulled out of the lineup for roster management type situations. That is where you're sitting there like, oh my gosh, what's going on here?
Yeah. Well, like we saw last night with Tyler Myers and Vancouver, and there's rumblings of Detroit or Dallas or some other places that you go to. Now, did you get dealt from New Jersey to Phoenix? Was that at the deadline in 2004?
It's a little bit earlier than that. A little bit earlier. So that was kind of like just out of the blue. And so it didn't really have much stress leading up to that, because it just caught you by surprise. There was stress though, because I was in Tampa, and my roommate. That's when we had roommates. Was Patrik Eliash, and he answered the phone, and this is, wow, I'm kind of dating myself here. I don't know. But nowadays, you'd probably just get a message on your cell phone, or you get your phone call. But it was the hotel phone rang. Patty answers it, and I'm sleeping, and he's kind of like, hey, Mike, it's Lou. And I'm like, no. I'm like, no, it's not. And I like kind of clear my voice. I'm like, hello. And I heard him as like waking up out of his sleep to have Lou Lamoriello tell you you're getting traded to the Coyotes. You don't know, like, am I dreaming this? Like, what is happening right now? But I mean, you had quite a bit of confusion hit you pretty hard right in the face on a morning like that.
I'm assuming that must have caught you off guard, because you guys had won the Cup the year before. You obviously had that unbelievable playoff for you, 4 points in 4 games, and including 3 in Game 7, and now you're kind of like a rookie, right? Like, it's your first. Yeah. I know you'd played 26 games the year before, but you're thinking, hey, here we go. Now I'm an NHL player. So were you surprised? And did he give you any? Did he just say we're trading you, good luck, and that's it, or did he explain why he traded?
No, he was. Lou was always a gentleman in the way he spoke to you, and I know he comes across as being. I mean, he is tough. He is hard on you, but in certain moments like that, like he's great. So he was. You know what? I've been traded a couple times, and I'll be honest. There's been times. So I've been traded 3 times, and there's been times like the general manager is trying to be nice. He's trying to talk to you about what you don't want to hear it. You literally just want to hang up the phone. And Lou was very to the point, we'll stay in touch, blah, 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 blah. Like he was good because he kept it short. I don't need to hear how great you feel about me. You're trading me like that to me in that moment's like, don't like, I'm a big boy. Yeah. Let's hang up now and I'm going to go my way. So that one was one that was handled that way. It was just to the point. But yeah, I get it when GMs go to do that the other way. They're trying to be nice, but in that moment, man, you just want to hang up the phone.
Yeah, it's like when someone breaks up with you. I just end with it, right? Hey, you know what? I don't think this is working out. Best of luck. I don't want to know why. I don't really care why at that point. Like, you know what? It doesn't matter. If
I'm so great, why are you breaking up with me? You know what I mean?
Exactly. 100%. Who'd you get traded for from Arizona that first time?
Jan Hrdina. Jan Hrdina went back to so Jan was like Jan Hrdina was like a 20-goal scorer, right shot. Lou kind of wanted him. I think they moved him like a little center wing. So I think they just wanted a little more of a veteran presence. So that was the move.
I think Jan, because then the lockout year came. Right. And that's when you went and starred down with the Thrashers that you're currently wearing, the hoodie right now. And then when the NHL returned, Jan Hrdina played for 1 year and Mike Rupp played up until 2014. So, you should joke with Lou, you didn't really get much out of that deal. You basically got 13 games.
He got me come back, though. I came back like a year later. So maybe he knew like it was going on. But Lou was always good, too, because he'd always say, if you go back and you look at GMs that bring back players for like second 10 years, third 10 years with the team, he did it a lot. So he knew, and he would say that to you. This doesn't mean it's the end of, us working together. And then I remember, I was hitting free agency after that was like 2009, and I was on the Devils, and I kind of felt like I needed to test that for myself. And I called Lou and said, I'm going to go do that. And he just said, you know what, all good things happen in threes, Michael. So maybe we'll be back again. So he was good. He was good. No, he's never burned any bridges. He's a pro.
Yeah. And that's when you went to Pittsburgh, correct? As a free agent? Yeah. Did Sid call you to try to court you that summer?
Absolutely not. So they just won the Stanley Cup. He wasn't thinking about me at all.
Yeah. So for sure. Quickly, Rupper, who is your lock? Stone cold mortal lock to be traded before next Friday?
Vinny Trocheck. I'm going to say Vinny Trocheck. I think it's an absolute that he gets traded. Coming off, I think it's not a secret. I was going to say it's the worst kept secret. It's not that, because everybody's talked about him and linking him to Minnesota. I don't know what that looks like. I know Minnesota has given up a lot already for, they kind of cleared out their prospect pool to go get Quinn Hughes. I just think that it is the perfect fit for them. I think Bill Guerin has an appetite for doing something else big. I think the fact that he experienced this gold medal with Team USA with some of those players on that team, and the coach of that team was assistant coach Team USA, Bill Guerin being there. And quite frankly, the last number of years, Minnesota's PK has been awful. They've been terrible. So we just saw this US, PK go 18 for 18, and Vinny Trocheck was in that top pair. So it makes sense. I don't know what it looks like. I don't know how creative Bill Guerin's going to have to be. But the one thing I'll say is when Bill Guerin wants something, he goes and gets it. I think that's the absolute lock for me. I'm going to say Trocheck moves. I'm not going to say Minnesota, but I think he will go to Minnesota, but I think Trocheck gets traded.
Well, they don't have a first or a second this year, so it'd be a 27 first, unless it's some young prospect. So that's an interesting one. I like it because he's got term, right? He's got 3. Yeah. I think he's got 2 years left after this. So I'm kind of curious about if they're going to like move Panarin. They move him. Like, when does Mika Zibanejad put his hand up and say, "Hey, maybe," or Adam Fox? Like, this could be a massive, next few months here for the New York Rangers and potentially moving some things around, which would seem crazy. Like, when you got Shesterkin, I'm kind of feel like, God, maybe we should just look to retool here, not totally revamp our team. So,
did you see the Fox? Did you see the Fox post game last night?
Yes, I did.
And like, listen,
our job is
nor should he be, to be honest with you. Like, our job as consumers of hockey and what we're doing, talking about it, we are going to read between the lines. And like that, you give your opinion on and whatever, and you're going to read between the lines. I don't think there's nothing wrong with what Adam Fox said. The question, paraphrasing, was basically, with letter 2.0 coming out, like, what is this? Is that something you have the appetite for as far as retool, rebuild, whatever you want to phrase it? And he basically was like, I'm just focusing on right now. I was working my way to get back. I'm going to finish out this season. And that's something I'll think about later. Now, nothing wrong with what he said. It might be bang on. It might be accurate. It might be speaking from the heart. But it's what he did not say. Like, in most of those situations you hear, I want to be a New York Ranger. Or in some of those situations where I've been on teams where maybe I don't even want to necessarily be there. I want to go and it's time for a change. But you always say, I'm happy here. You always establish that. That was not established. So that starts making me think, is there going to be a conversation with Adam Fox and management in this offseason that maybe pushes on? Maybe that starts the divide. Maybe that starts to move in a different direction. That's going to be interesting. I was very intrigued at what he did not say in that scrum.
Yeah, it was fascinating to see. I'm curious to see how big of a swing the Edmonton Oilers. They need a second pair right defenseman. I don't think there's not much debate on that. The Vancouver Canucks, how many guys are they going to trade? They might trade a lot of them. I think teams will, Evander Kane's going to get moved. I think for sure, not that that's a big surprise to anybody, but I'm kind of curious to see how many players they move out of there. I look at the Calgary Flames are in the same boat to see potentially how many guys they are going to look at moving. I mentioned Nashville, and I think their week will probably decide what they do. And the St. Louis Blues are the other one, man. I keep hearing the Robert Thomas name. Like, that would be an interesting one to me, man. Doug Armstrong is going out. Alex Steen is coming in as the GM next year. Armstrong's still going to be there in an advisory role for sure. But I'm interested on that. And I just wonder about Jordan Binnington, Rupper. Like, teams are going to look and say, this guy's a gamer in the key games. And we know how important goaltending is. I wonder about Binnington. I think it would be a hard trade, but I wonder.
Yeah, so that's where it gets tough too, because you talk about the transition between Armstrong and Steen and where the direction is with this team, how much they want to shake it up. Are they a team? I mean, St. Louis is generally a team that tries to get back in the saddle and turn it around real quick. And the reason why I'm mentioning that is, if they're a team that's like, all right, this year is this year, we believe that we can switch this, we're going to change some things around, but we want to be back and contend of being a playoff spot next year, I think you have to keep Jordan Binnington. I don't think Joel Hofer has shown enough. He did last year. I think there's some question marks now where it's like, but is it time yet to go to Hofer? I don't believe that they're confident in that today. I think they still believe in him in the future. Now, can you move Jordan Binnington? You do move Jordan Binnington. If I'm St. Louis, if you are sitting there thinking it's going to take longer than just a quick little turnaround this offseason, like if we may have to change direction quite a bit, I think you move Jordan Binnington. I think there is a market out there for him. You might have to be creative in those teams to fit him in. But I mean, you get Jordan Binnington for this year and next year. I don't care what you say. He's a gamer. Like, he's a gamer. His numbers are, I'll be frank, terrible in St. Louis this year. horrific, like one of the worst.
Oh, yeah.
St. Louis is bad. So like I still can't, I don't know. You obviously rooting for Team Canada at the Olympics, like still pretty damn good when the moment is big. So and for me, that's appealing because there's how many goalies are out there over the years where you're like, oh, we're going to go out and get this goalie. We got this goalie, and then he doesn't perform in the big moments. Jordan Binnington has done that in his career. So I'd love to see him go somewhere and play on that big stage.
Yeah. I will say if you are acquiring him, you have to have the system and how you play that fits to his style, right? Mm-hmm. If you're a team that gives up a lot of backdoor stuff, not going to work, right? He's very aggressive. That's how he comes out and plays. So this is one I've learned this from Woodley over the years, like how a goaltender plays has to match the system you play. If you don't have a matching system for the goalie, you're going to have problems. So it's not just, this goalie isn't working here. You know what? Goalies play a certain way. Right? Mm-hmm. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. So you got to make sure that if you acquire a goalie, your scouts should understand, hey, this is how we play. Is this guy going to match? Like if you're a team that gives up tons of chances off the rush, Rupper, don't acquire a goalie who isn't good off the rush, right? And now there's enough data to look at those things. So I think that's the key you have to look at for them. I look forward to it, Rupper. It's going to be a wild and wacky week. It's going to be lots of trades. Should be loads of fun. That's the rundown, as always, brought to you by Bet365. Have an awesome weekend.
Hey, hockey fans, if you enjoyed that video, then make sure you hit the subscribe button right here on the Daily Faceoff YouTube. We have you covered for everything you need. Exclusive interviews on The Sheet with Jeff Merrick, all the latest hockey news on Daily Faceoff Live, and you can always get your morning started with Johnny Lazarus and Colby Cohn on Morning Cup of Hockey. Don't miss a minute. Hit that subscribe button.